today with a hymn sing, but it'll be a little different because it's going to be a rehearsal for the service. So one of the hymns, 1043, is in Transylvania, because the service today is about the roots of Unitarian Universalism in Transylvania. And so we wanted to prepare you for Transylvanian words. So we're going to have a short rehearsal. So people that are here, we're going to ask you to help us rehearse, and then you'll sing out when the hymn comes in the service so that we can sing it successfully. So Mary LeMay here is going to help you run you through the words. And you'll notice at the bottom of the first page is actually a pronunciation guide that's very helpful and very accurate for the Transylvanian words.
And because this is words, I'm going to unmask just the slightest bit.
And if you don't mind, if you need to talk, we're going to try to do a hymn sing. We'd like some concentration on the music. So, like Bonnie and Michelle, if you need to talk, you can go maybe out in the commons. Okay, thanks.
The words are a form of Hungarian, if any of you know Hungarian. And there are two major pronunciation points that will help. When you see the SZ, like in the title, that's like the SZ in the composer's Liszt's name. It's just a simple S. So this is Sacredly is the title. And we sing Sacredly a couple of times. But when you get an S by itself at the end of the second word of the title, that becomes an SH. 1043 in the Teal hymnal. So the title of this hymn is Sacredly Aldash. And anytime you see a single S, it's going to be an SH sound. And anytime you see an SZ, it's just a simple S sound, which is a little backwards to English. Thought I'd point it out. Okay, first line. And I think the simplest thing is for me to say a line and then you repeat it, and we'll go through the words at least twice. And this is a progressive lesson. Where there is faith, there is, and we get to sing in English too. Where there's faith, there's love. Where there's love, there's peace. Where there's peace, there's blessing. Where there's blessing, there is God. Where there is God, there is no want. Oops, this translation says need. I'm sorry. Hol hit ot seritet. Hol seritet ot beke. Hol beke ot aldash. Hol aldash ot ishten. That's a single S, so that's ishten. Hol ishten. Then the hardest phrase. Ot syk seg ninchen. Syk seg ninchen. Except it goes syk seg ninchen when we sing it, in terms of rhythm and speed.
Do one more time.
Sure. The whole thing. Hol hit ot seritet. Hol seritet ot beke. Hol beke ot aldash. Hol aldash ot ishten. Hol ishten ot syk seg ninchen. Syk seg. It's in.
Good morning. Welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist. My name is Michelle Itano, and I am a member of the Worship Associates ministry here at the church. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you arrived at this beloved place, you are welcome here. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and to call your attention to the special note for you, welcome guests and newcomers, at the bottom of the backside of the order of service. As we continue with reopening, I want to mention a few things to keep in mind. We are masking inside on Sunday mornings and in the outdoor RE spaces as a way of striving to be an inclusive community. We are not currently passing the offering baskets, so please make your donation online or place your donation in the offering baskets as you enter or exit the sanctuary. After the service, we invite you to gather in two different areas. The courtyard is a mask optional space for fellowship and will have a cart for coffee and tea available outside. Please take time to wander into the community room, an indoor space where masking is required, using the double doors behind the coffee cart, to check out the tables set up to share information from the groups mentioned in the order of service this week. The area behind the Jones building, located to your left as you enter the courtyard from the service, which includes the porch, grassy area, and playground, is a space where masking is mandatory. Our virtual coffee hour today at 11:30 will be hosted by Rachel Rose and the Welcoming Committee. The Zoom link is in the weekly announcements and the Sunday morning email. Please turn off or silence any cell phones during our service to maintain a worshipful experience. And today, I'm very excited to share a special announcement with you all. We are hosting Joe Rizzolo's art show here in the sanctuary through February 27th. I encourage those joining virtually to check out the church's Facebook page for a preview video of the installation. Joe Rizzolo is an abstract expressionist painter. He is originally from New Jersey but has lived in North Carolina since 1980. Joe has been creating visual art for over 40 years, starting with drawing and sculpture, moving to metal sculpture, and in the late 1990s, migrating to painting, mostly mixed media and acrylic. We are honored to have him present with us today. Joe is standing, and please, can we all welcome him and thank him for sharing our art. I encourage you all to visit it after the service today. This morning, we have a Share the Plate for the UU Mountain Retreat and Learning Center from Charles and Lois Lee.
Good morning. We're Charles and Lois Lee, and we thank you for this opportunity. The Mountain Retreat and Learning Center, located in Highlands, North Carolina, has been in existence for 43 years, serving UUs and others. It is a not-for-profit center, summer youth camp, and a retreat where groups and individuals can grow and renew themselves. The core values that shape the culture of the mountain reflect our Unitarian Universalist heritage and our 7 principles.
K-12 children experience traditional weeks of summer camp, lodged in rustic cabins, fed in a 120-seat dining hall, take classes, bike, hike, swim, raft, and participate with the Many Hands Peace Fund. There is also a 1-week family camp. Youth-related activities include the fall and spring youth cons that attract RE age groups for long weekends of activities in the beautiful outdoors. In the off-season, the mountain serves as many adult programs such as church and choir planning retreats, weekend learning programs, personal and family retreats. Individuals and non-union groups, such as the Atlanta Gay Men's Visioning Group, come twice a year for conferences. Other groups include AmeriCorps, Black Lives UU, Rhodes Scholars, a Jewish dance group, and the Southeast UU Ministers Association.
The COVID years have placed a serious burden on the mountain with cancellations of camp, some programs, and visits. It has been a struggle to maintain the staff and the facilities. Please join us at the information table after the service today and see photos and hear more about the mountain.
Your support for the UU Mountain Retreat and Learning Center through our church's Share the Faith program is greatly appreciated. Please indicate STP the Mountain on your check, place cash in the baskets, or donate online.
Thank you.
When I am down and oh, my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit awhile for me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulder. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. Raise me up to more than I can be. You raise me up to more than I can be.
Thank you, Tom. This morning, we're going to be virtually all taking a trip across the ocean to Transylvania, which is now a region located in Romania in Eastern Europe. And so with that in mind, I am wearing a traditional folk tie, and I'm trying to approximate what Unitarian ministers look like on Sunday morning in their churches. They would wear traditional ties, perhaps different folk art on the ends of their ties, and they would be wearing heavy black wool jackets, blazers with piping and other beautiful handwork on them. And they wear those heavy wool jackets because most of the historic churches that our Unitarians meet in are not heated. So be glad you're in a heated sanctuary, because everyone in Transylvania is wearing their jackets, and they hope this sermon is really short. In addition to these black wool jackets, the ministers also have heavy wool capes. And so when I have been over in Transylvania and I've preached, I get the cape because I didn't fit the jacket. And it does actually remind me of Dracula's cape. I also have a traditional linen hanging or placemat, whatever you want to call it, that has the traditional flower that you will actually see growing in the fields around the churches and homes in Transylvania. This particular linen was made by one of the women in the partner church that my former congregation in Athens, Georgia participated in. So they have a wonderful tradition of folk art, songs, and they are, after all, Unitarians, and so we share a lot with them. So this morning we'll learn a little bit about our Transylvanian friends and colleagues. We just won't hear any stories about vampires.
Words for today's chalice lighting are by Derek McCullough and can be found in the order of service. If you wish to do so, please join me in reading them.
We need some badges.
We honor those brave souls who spoke their truth, who defied orthodoxy. Their courage speaks to us through this chalice and encourages us to think strongly and to love fully in our shared quest for truth, beauty, and meaning. Thank you. Please stand in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, number 103 in your gray hymnal, For All the Saints. Those joining virtually can find the words for the hymn linked in the online order of service.
I also want to make you aware that the first and second verse are on the first page, and then the third verse is on the second page in four-part harmony. So if you want to sing harmony, that's your chance, and then you go back to the first page for the fourth verse. It's a little screwy, but that's what it is. There's 1, 2, 3 in the next page, and then 4.
first reading briefly tells the story of the founding of the Unitarian Church in Transylvania, a once semi-independent kingdom of Hungary, now a region in Romania. This text is adapted from a Unitarian Universalist Association document. 400 years ago, a little country in the high mountains of Hungary existed called Transylvania, or the land through the forest. The king of that land was John Sigismund. King John's father had died of an illness when John was a baby, so his mother, Queen Isabella, served as regent until his 21st birthday. King John's country sat next to two large, powerful countries that fought with each other. King John did not want his small country to get into their quarrel, but even worse than that, King John's own people fought each other. They fought because they belonged to 4 different kinds of faith communities: Roman Catholic, Lutheran, Calvinist, and Unitarian. Each believed their ideas about God and Jesus were the only true ideas. Sometimes people fought with words. Other times, people in government fought by taking people's jobs away or people's money. Often people were put in prison or even put to death. King John wanted this fighting to end. In 1568, he called for a speaker from each group to participate in a debate to be held in the city of Torda. The Unitarian speaker was Francis David. He argued that no one had the right to force people to believe anything about God. He said, "Faith is a gift from God." After 10 days, King John ordered the debate to end. He did not announce a winner, though personally he was impressed by Francis David. As a result of the debate, King John issued the Edict of Torda, guaranteeing people could debate ideas of religion, but must not fight, punish, or kill each other for their views. Every church and every person would be free to follow their own beliefs. Toleration was a new and strange idea for those times, and many disagreed with King John. But that declaration made it safe to be a Unitarian. The second reading is a translation of the Edict of Torda, proclaimed by King John Sigismund in 1568. His Majesty, our Lord, in whatever manner he, together with his realm, legislated in the matter of religion at the previous diets or councils, in the same manner now, in this diet, reaffirms that in every place the preachers shall preach and explain the gospel, each according to his understanding of it, and if the congregation like it well. If not, no one shall compel them, for their souls would not be satisfied, but they shall be permitted to keep a preacher whose teaching they approve. Therefore, none of the superintendents or others shall abuse the preachers. No one shall be reviled for his religion by anyone according to the previous statutes, and it is not permitted that anyone should threaten anyone else by imprisonment or by removal from his post for his teaching. For faith is the gift of God, and this comes from hearing, which hearings is by the word of God.
John Denver's father was a distinguished Air Force pilot, and like his father, John was also a pilot, but he was a civilian pilot. He aspired to be the first civilian in space, and he was even on the short list of NASA's candidates to have this privilege. But they didn't choose John, they chose Krista McAuliffe for this distinction. And on January 28th, 1986, the Challenger took off and there was a disaster. It exploded, and John was devastated, so he wrote this song that came out of meditations that he was feeling that night.
Well, I guess that you probably know by now, I was one who wanted to fly. I wanted to ride on that arrow of fire right up into heaven. And I wanted to go for every man, every child, every mother of children. I wanted to carry the dreams of all people right up to the stars. And I prayed that I'd find that answer there, or maybe I would find the song, giving a voice to all of the hearts that cannot be heard. And for all of the ones who live in fear, and all of those who stand apart, my being there would bring us a little step closer together. They were flying for me, they were flying for everyone. They were trying to see a brighter day for each and every one. They gave us their light, they gave us their spirit, and all they could be. They were flying for me. They were flying for me. And I wanted to wish on the Milky Way and dance upon a falling star. I wanted to give myself and free myself and join myself with it all. Given the chance to dream, it can be done. The promise of tomorrow is real. Children of spaceship Earth, the future belongs to us all. She was flying for me. She was flying for everyone. She was trying to see a brighter day for each and every one. She gave us her light, she gave us her spirit and all she could be. She was flying for me, they were flying for me. They were flying for everyone. They were trying to see a brighter day for each and every one. They gave us their light, they gave us their spirit and all they could be. They were flying for me. They were flying for me. They were flying for me. They were flying for me.
big fan of Henry Louis Gates' TV show, Finding Our Roots. Are any of you ever watched that show? Yeah. It features well-known authors, musicians, actors, and others who want to learn about their ancestry. I admit to an element of celebrity watching when I watch the show, but mostly I find their stories fascinating. Gates and his research team uncover heartbreaking tragedies, amazing successes, missing links, and surprising connections. Even if you don't watch the show, I imagine some of you have probably looked into your own ancestry to find out a little bit more about who came before you. I certainly have. But what drives our search for our ancestors? I think discovering who our people were, where they came from, and what their circumstances were, to be a search for ourselves, to know how we came to be. The links to people in the past may seem remote, but we were conceived out of those links. Our umbilical cords literally tied us to our parents, and they to their parents, and to a near infinite number of parents before them. We would not exist if not for those who came before. Just as we have family stories, religious groups have stories too. Michelle shared one story earlier of King John. And stories like this reveal something of who we are and who we might become. Jews know their stories. Christians know their stories. Muslims know their stories. Many Unitarian Universalists don't know our stories. Our UU stories include people of courage and conscience, people who faced immense danger, including martyrdom, and some who found great renown. Their stories can inspire us. Unitarian Universalist scholar Conrad Wright suggests there are 4 reasons to know our history. 1, it supports a sense of common past and common reference points. 2, it provides symbols of communication, such as chalice jewelry and chalice tattoos. It supplies role models who exert behavioral pressure, speak prophetically, and make us proud. And 4th, and I find this most important, it aids self-understanding by helping us know who we are, what we stand for, and affirms connections to ancestors, traditions, and concerns. In short, knowing our history binds us together as one community, especially important since so many UUs come in from some other tradition or from having no tradition. Religion means ties that bind, and our history, then and now, forms some of those ties. And our history tells a story no less holy than that of other faiths. Michelle told the basic story of Francis David, or David Ferenc, as he might be called in Hungarian. David was a 16th century Transylvanian Roman Catholic priest who learned of Martin Luther's reforms and began preaching these new ideas to his congregation in Koloshvar, also named Cluj-Napoca in Romania. When John Calvin published further reforms, David became a Calvinist, taking his congregation along with him. Then, when David heard about the more radical ideas of Unitarianism, in 1566, he began preaching Unitarian ideas. And after King John's endorsement following the 1568 debate, thousands greeted David's return to Koloshvar. This prompted him to stand atop a large boulder and preach enthusiastically to a crowd of thousands. And upon hearing him, almost all were said to immediately convert to Unitarianism. The Roman Catholics who originally settled David in Koleshvar, needless to say, dismissed David from their pulpit for his various heretical conversions. Fortunately, new land was donated to build the first church in the world, named Unitarian. As Michelle read, King John's edict affirmed preachers had the freedom to, quote, explain the gospel as they understood it, and if the people didn't like it, no one would compel them to attend that preacher's church. Though radical for its time, that neither preacher nor congregant would be forced to profess a particular doctrine remains a hallmark of our tradition, affirmed in our 7 principles and clergy letters of agreement, freedom of the pulpit. Sadly, King John died a few years after issuing the edict, and his successors were not so tolerant. Francis David was arrested for the heresy of theological innovations, of continuing to revise his beliefs and understanding. He died a martyr's death in prison in 1579, but Unitarian ideas like his had spread throughout Western Europe and would find fertile ground in America's colonies. Knowing about King John and Francis David made my 2 pilgrimages to Transylvania to follow in their footsteps more meaningful. Some of this congregation's members have been on such a pilgrimage. One artifact of that trip hangs on the wall by the stairs at the back of the sanctuary that lead up to the balcony. It contains a traditional blessing that we'll sing later, as well as having sung during our gathering. For nearly 30 years, my former congregation in Athens, Georgia, has enjoyed a significant mutual relationship with a partner church in the Transylvania village of Oakland. Every few years, we went on pilgrimage there, and in return, some of their youth and adults would journey to Athens. Now, it's one thing to imagine where our ancestors came from and what they endured. It's another to go on a pilgrimage, to walk in ancestral footsteps, to touch the Edict of Torda, the commemoration plaque that hangs on a church wall in Torda, to see revered King John's marble sarcophagus, it's huge, and to meet those who trace their Unitarian roots back centuries. A pilgrimage bears little resemblance to a tourist visit because it purposely fosters a deep emotional and spiritual connection. The experience allows their story to become our story. It is a journey in search of the holy. And I experienced the holy in remarkable moments of connection. My first pilgrimage began in Koleshvar. David's church was rebuilt 200 years after his death, but I still entered onto the ground of that first Unitarian church, the first in the world. And in that current sacred space rests David Large Oration Rock. I experienced a moment of awe for the privilege of being in this historic sanctuary of Ptolemies. Imagine a central church nave of plain whitewashed walls with a high ceiling ending in a half dome. Along the side walls, large windows let in bright natural light. Rows of wooden pews face a beautifully carved wood communion table where 4 times a year the congregation partakes in that symbolic ritual. Just beyond that central table, an elevated pulpit perches out from a side wall. High pulpits are generally restricted to clergy, giving me a special opportunity to explore it. The pulpit entrance cannot be seen by those in the pews, making a minister's appearance in the pulpit somewhat miraculous. But I needed no guide. I found its hidden entrance and enclosed, narrow, circular staircase leading upward. Before I ascended, I paused. To avoid hitting my head, I reached up and placed my hand on the low lintel, my palm connecting my skin to its wood. I inhaled and exhaled deeply a few times to calm myself because I was beginning to feel something extraordinary. In that liminal pause, I stood. The steps before me worn down by centuries of Unitarian ministers who'd climbed up to preach their word of truth, and to where millions of people had looked and listened, finding solace, strength, and inspiration. In that momentary physical connection, I felt its rich history. I heard the echo of words once spoken. And as if invisible roots sprang forth from that wood, weaving around my fingers and heart, my own commitment to our faith deepened. A profound feeling of connection washed over me in that brief moment of touch. I then bent my head and entered the stairwell, winding my way up and out to look below. Still overwhelmed by what I was feeling, I leaned out and in nervous caricature, I wagged my finger at those below, as if I was preaching of fire and brimstone. I regret my need for cathartic release, which led me to lighten the moment. I didn't mean to make light of what I was feeling. I tried to redeem myself later when I preached briefly in the 12th century church in our partner village of Oakland for their September Communion Sunday. As I climbed their visible pulpit stairs, I wondered what could I say to these people whose dedication to Unitarian beliefs and values had caused them so much suffering over the centuries, even in their own lifetime. Their ancestors faced incredible oppression during the Counter-Reformation, when men like Francis de Sade were martyred. And in more modern times, the villagers survived 2 world wars, several national border changes, Soviet-influenced communism, and Nicholas Ceausescu's grotesque tyranny. Even after Ceausescu's downfall, Romanian authorities marginalized Unitarian villages and ethnic Hungarians in Transylvania. During their darkest days, Unitarian ministers were removed from their villages to remove their leadership and possible defiance of the government. Communist leaders strived to destroy village life so that people would relocate to industrial centers to work. Despite these and other oppressive hardships, Unitarians endured with their faith intact. With respect and humility, I managed to offer the Oaklanders a few words of greeting and hope that our relationship would continue to grow and mature. I'm happy to say our friendship did grow and deepen. Sadly, Oakland's minister, Reverend Leventa Kalaman, died during my last year in Athens, and with my retirement, both congregations are now in transition. But I'm hopeful that new ministers will build on the relationships that existed. Before that first pilgrimage, I didn't know what I might discover about myself, but I came away more deeply committed to this faith, and I gained a new understanding of how literally life-saving this faith can be. As freedom and democracy is challenged in America in this moment, the struggle to survive, evidenced by the Transylvanians, gives me hope for our own survival. The ways they bided their time and maintained their Unitarian traditions and values amidst real horrors provides us role models for facing similar oppression. Even so, I hope our collective actions now stop a possible slide into autocracy before it's too late. May our Unitarian Universalist history inspire us to be the people we need to be in this moment in time. May the history we write in our time be of equal inspiration for generations of Unitarian Universalists to come. And may we always seek opportunities to learn more deeply who we are and can be. As Hungarian ministers say at the end of a service, so I say in my poor Hungarian, Isten áldja meg. May God bless you, however you translate God. May it be so.
Each week, we hold a time in our worship service for the sharing of significant joys and sorrows. If you have a personal joy or sorrow you would like to share, you are invited to come forward, place a stone in the water, and speak your name into the microphone, and briefly share your joy or sorrow. We also ask that you please be considerate when sharing any detailed personal information on behalf of another person. Let us enter into this time of tenderness and trust.
Hi everybody, I'm Naomi Hitchcock, and I have a sorrow and a joy to share today. My sorrow is that I lost my dad in September, just 6 months after he was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer. So it went very much faster than we expected that it was going to, and it was just an awful thing piled on top of lots of awful things over the last 2 years, and we miss him a lot. But my joy is that now that our kids are vaccinated, today is our first day back at church, and we're really, really happy to be here. The kids are so excited to be. Jackson's in OWL this semester, and his little sister Ada is back at RE and is really happy to be here. And we're really happy to be back in our church community, and it's great to see everybody. So.
This last stone is for all those joys and sorrows this morning that were unspoken, but that live in our hearts and are no less real.
Please join me for a moment in the spirit of prayer. Source of life and love, God of mystery and many names. We give thanks for all of our joys, for the joy of being vaccinated, for the joy of being together once again. May we celebrate our joys together. For all our sorrows, the loss of family, of friends, of the way of life, of jobs, of so many things that we are feeling a loss, may we hold each other tenderly. We are each on a journey of discovery, each day unfolding, and each day we rise to meet it. Some days are harder to rise. Some days feel dark and oppressive. But some days we enter joyfully. Some days the world seems bright and full of possibility. On those dark days, may we remember bright days will follow. We just need to hold on. This community helps us hold on. We are one, connected to each other in our commitment to our highest ideals of freedom and love. May this community always be present for one another, for we all may be in need one day, and we all have something to offer when another is in need of us. Let us pause for a moment in silence to hear the prayers and feelings of our hearts. May our lives continue to be blessed by the love of this community. Amen. Ashe, and blessed be. Before we sing our meditation hymn, I want to just say a word about it. Seke Aldash, Seke blessing, refers to the Seke people who make up about half of the Transylvanian Hungarians. And so many of our Unitarians in Transylvania are Sekes. And they are very strongly Seke, given all of the changes to the borders and whose country they belong to over the years. This traditional blessing you can find everywhere you go in Transylvania, and it is in Hungarian on that hanging that's at the bottom of the stairs there. You can also find it on pottery plates and wall hangings and on the wooden gates to the entranceways to churches. So we sing this blessing this morning in honor of our Unitarians in Eastern Europe, even if we sing the Hungarian imperfectly. It's number 1043, and you may remain seated in your teal hymn.
What I'm going to do is have Mary sing once to refresh your memories for those who were here for the gathering, once in Hungarian, then we'll all sing it in Hungarian once, and then the English words once, and then the third time, people to my left will sing the Hungarian, and people to my right the English, and we'll sing it a fourth time and switch so everyone has a chance. So let's see what happens.
If you're on page 1043, you'll see the title, first word begins with an SZ. All languages have idiosyncrasies, and this is one. When you see the SZ, you just pronounce an S. But at the end of the second word is Aldash, where there's a single S, and there you say SH. So it's a sacred Aldash. Holy heat. Okay, at the bottom of the page, you see the pronunciation guide. I'll say each line and give you time to repeat it. Holy heat od seletet. Holy heat od seletet. od sérete od béké. Hol béké ad áldás, hol áldás ad Isten. Hol Isten ad szükség nincsen. Szükség nincsen.
To close our service, I share the words of Unitarian Universalist minister Richard Wilbur, titled The Anonymous String. We are held together by an invisible link with the earth on which we live and move and have our being. We are part of a mystic oneness with all who have gone before, of prophets and poets, fathers and mothers, saints and sages. We are members one of another in religious community, sharing our joys and sorrows, victories and defeats. We are sparks of divinity, glowing in a cosmos whose origin and destiny we do not know, but whose mystery we celebrate. We rejoice in that which binds us to one another, to the world of nature, to the cosmic mysteries. We rejoice and will rejoice forevermore. Let's rise in body to sing our closing hymn, number 1051 in your teal hymnal, We All.
words for extinguishing the chalice in your order of service. Please join me if you wish to do so. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Before we sing Shalom, a reminder that you can donate to the Share the Plate online, or if you are writing a check for the Mountain Retreat and Learning Center, please write Share the Plate or STP the Mountain in the memo line and drop it in the offering basket at the back of the church or make your donation online. All offerings will be very appreciated. And now it is the time for us to sing Shalom. In keeping with our COVID protocols, if you prefer not to hold hands during the singing of Shalom, just cross your hands over your chest. If you are comfortable holding hands with those around you, please indicate that by putting your hands out to either side.